Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
If you have ever felt like a number at the doctor's office and didn't like it, direct primary care may be the answer. You pay a monthly fee, insurance is not needed, or even billed for your visit. Since insurance is not involved, your healthcare decisions are made by you and your doctor and not by third-party input like insurance. On today's Sisterhood of the Second Act, we talk to Dr. Christy Arthur. She explains direct primary care and why she left a large traditional practice to set up her own practice following the direct primary care model. And we meet a trailblazer today. Chanel Dickerson climbed the ranks of the DC Metropolitan Police Department, reaching the rank of assistant chief before retiring. Now she speaks with girls, women, and organizations about overcoming self-limiting beliefs. Her story of triumph coming up a little later in the show. We'll meet both of these women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women build wealth and security. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they'd be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studios, this is Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Denise Allen Membrano. Insurance costs continue to rise, as do medical expenses. These high costs often prevent many who need medical attention from seeking it, sometimes leading to catastrophic consequences. Direct primary care may be a solution for some. Dr. Christy Arthur is here to explain the concept for us today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
So this is the first time I've heard of direct primary care. So what is it?
Direct primary care is basically a subscription service for primary medical care. So for a low monthly fee, you get access to your family physician when you need him or her for the kind of care that you need. And this means that the insurance middleman is cut out of the picture to restore that direct communication and relationship between the physician and the patient.
So how does it work? You say you pay a monthly fee. What is the fee and what does it cover?
Sure. So the monthly fee, for me, the monthly fee is $100 a month if you're older than 21. Ages 8 to 20 is $50 a month. And that really covers all aspects of that connection and communication. So it covers unlimited texting, phone calls to reach your doctor when you need them. It covers any type of visit, be that a virtual visit, a phone visit, or an in-office visit. And it covers visits for comprehensive care, preventive care, pap smears, school physicals, employment physicals, that sort of thing, as well as acute care visits for minor injuries, sprains, strains, stitches, allergic reactions, and that sort of thing as well. In addition, it covers all the visits for comprehensive, like continuing ongoing care for things like anxiety, depression, ADHD, diabetes, those sorts of things as well.
So if you have to come several times a month, you're not paying several payments, you're just paying that one fee.
Right, that's right.
And you mentioned, how does it save you money?
Yeah.
Since insurance isn't paying for it.
Right,
so.
right. That's a great question. So there's a couple different ways it saves you money. First, I have access to discounted lab prices. So like deeply discounted, like a blood count for about $5. So it can
Wow.
save significant amounts with lab fees. But more importantly, it improves access so little problems don't become big issues. A lot of times I can handle things in the office so people don't have to go to urgent care or the emergency room with those large bills. And that's a significant cost savings. The other thing is that having access to somebody who can be a partner to protect your health and keep you healthy, that can save lots of money down the road as well.
And we are talking with Dr. Christy Arthur, owner of Ultra Primary Care. It's about direct primary care. And you were telling us how it can save you money. You also work with your husband.
Right.
What are your roles in the practice, and
Sure.
how does that work?
Sure, yeah. So it's interesting. So the Center for Ultra Health is sort of the umbrella name for the organization, and that is more of my husband's side of the business, which is functional medicine. And that's a branch of medicine that has more extensive lab testing to really get to the root of causes for medical illnesses. He specializes mainly in gut health because a lot of times a poorly functioning gut leads to a lot of other medical problems down the line. And he's had that business for a while, and I just joined him in January. And it's been really fun working with him. It's been something we've dreamed about for a while, kind of like, wouldn't that be fun? And now it's nice that it's come to fruition.
So what kind of conditions do you treat?
I treat all of the primary care conditions. So anything that you normally see an internist or a family medicine doctor for. Anything ranging from depression, anxiety, diabetes, hypertension, acute illnesses. I can test for strep as well as flu, COVID, and do urinalysis and pregnancy testing in the office, and then handling minor injuries and illnesses and allergic reactions and things of that nature as well.
So I read that you wanted to be a doctor all your life.
Right.
How did you get from going from a big traditional practice into this practice, doing direct primary care? What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, I have to say the pandemic led to a lot of that. I never thought I would enjoy telemedicine, and then the pandemic forced us all to do it, and I found it was really an interesting and neat way to see sides of patients that I didn't necessarily get to see when they came to visit me in the office. And, the pandemic also, I think it made all of us recognize that, tomorrow isn't promised. And so it sort of accelerated this growing interest I already had in what are ways that I can get more connection with my patients. When I completed my time at Carillion, I had over 3,000 patients.
Wow.
And I would often hear people say, I wish I could get in to see you more easily. Like, it took me 2 weeks to get this appointment for, something minor, like an elbow pain or something. And I always hated hearing that. And I hated that I didn't even know that they wanted to get an appointment with me. Not only did I not see them, I didn't know they needed to see me either. And I wanted to look for a way to really reestablish that communication and that connection. And direct primary care has been gaining a lot of momentum, and I've been sort of following along the fringes. And then when COVID happened, I decided, you know what? I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to do this. And it's been such a joy to be able to see patients in a relaxed environment with enough time to answer questions, not feeling like if they're coming in for a physical and they have a new problem, I can't address it, to really be able to take care of them and meet them where they are for their needs.
We are talking with Dr. Christy Arthur about direct primary care. And do you co-own Ultra Primary Care with your husband?
I do. I do. We co-own it together. Yes.
And you also added a life coach certification to your resume. Why did you do that?
Yeah. So again, I think that was another pandemic byproduct. I was thinking about what I really enjoy about medicine, and the thing that I enjoy the most is that connection with my patients. But sometimes I didn't always feel like I had the tools to help them to be able to pivot or see things differently. And coaching enhanced that tool set for me. It really teaches how to listen deeply on multiple levels, not just to what people are saying, but what they're not saying. So I can find a little bit of leverage points to have different conversations that can affect change in a different way.
Right, because sometimes you do need to coach
Right.
either a condition out of a person, like what they're feeling, or help them make the steps they need to take the positive changes to improve their health.
That's right.
That's very interesting. You capped the number of patients. You mentioned when you were working with Carillion, you had 3,000 patients. Mm-hmm. Why have you all capped the number of patients at Ultra?
We have capped it because to preserve access, so that I know that I will have the time that I need with patients, and I will be able to confidently say, I can see you within 24 to 48 hours for any problem. And when you look at the statistics for panel size and then how many patient appointments you need per day, really capping at about 400 to 600 is about the right sweet spot for me in terms of the number of patient appointments that I feel that I can do with the amount of time that I want during the day.
Wow, that's quite a difference.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I imagine it is more satisfying to be able to listen to everyone. What happens if one of your patients needs to go to the hospital or get special labs or things like that?
Right. They can do that. They can absolutely do that. There's no constraint. If they need a referral to a specialist, I make that referral. I generally write a really detailed letter and sometimes with a phone call, depending on the complexity of the case. And they are able to be seen by the specialist. If they need to go to the hospital, in general, the hospitalist will take care of them there, and I can follow along peripherally. And then when they are out of the hospital, they can come to see me for their follow-up visit, and I can continue to provide care seamlessly thereafter.
And we mentioned that you don't take insurance, but you are taking Medicare now. So how does that work?
Right. So yeah, it's a really interesting concept. So I don't take insurance, but any insurance is welcome in my center. So what that means is whether you have insurance or not, you can come see me. I just don't bill the insurance. And for Medicare, it was a little bit tricky because for me to be able to bill Medicare patients outside of the Medicare system, I had to opt out, and that took a few months to do. And so now I can see anybody who wants to see me, and regardless of insurance.
Well, thank you so much for explaining this and giving patients another option.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate your time. And we will have Dr. Arthur's contact information on our show notes in our website at sisterhoodofthesecond-act.com. And up next, Chanel Dickerson has never met an obstacle she could not hurdle. The former chief in the DC Metropolitan Police Department is on a mission to share how we all can overcome limiting beliefs to reach our dreams.
Cabbie fashions take you from the boardroom to the beach. Dress for a garden party or a night on the town. Independent cabbie stylist Darlene Marshall will make sure you look your best no matter what the occasion. She'll bring the store to your home for you and your friends or schedule a private consultation. Call Darlene 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, or find her on Instagram at Dapper Darling, on Facebook at Darlene Marshall Independent Cabbie Stylist.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke Studios, Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Denise Allen Membrino. Chief Chanel Dickerson is the founder and CEO of Chief Chanel Speaks. Her mission is to empower young girls and women to overcome self-limiting beliefs. Chief Chanel retired as an assistant chief of police with the District of Columbia Metropolitan Police Department. And during most of her stint there, she was the highest ranking female officer. When I met you and talked to you before and I looked at your website, I thought that you would be a perfect candidate for our show because it's all about inspiring women. And it sounds like you have a really inspiring story to tell. So I really appreciate you joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, first of all, Chief, you're a trailblazer. Why did you decide to go into law enforcement?
Thank you so much for the question. I'm excited every time. I saw a police officer in my community when I was 9 years old, and I admired the way he interacted with the young people in my community. And I made a commitment at 9 years old that I will become a police officer.
Wow. 9 years old, that's early. And I know you started your career young too. Didn't I read 17 you became a police officer or
yes,
a cadet?
As a police cadet at 17.
Wow. I also read in your bio that you experienced some trauma in your early life. Tell us about that and how it impacted your career.
Yes. My early childhood sexual abuse and childhood trauma, it shaped me into the woman I am today. And what I noticed when I entered into policing, that I humanized every person that I encountered. And by doing that, I knew that my action actually affected a human being. And when you've grown up in underserved communities and you have witnessed predators prey on young people who just needed their basic needs met, you look at policing and just life through a different lens.
We are talking with Chanel Dickerson, founder and CEO of Chief Chanel Speaks. Now, you reached the level of assistant chief in the DC Metropolitan Police Department. How did you navigate that military system as a woman of color?
It was tough navigating that structure because there was attitudes and beliefs that there was no place for women in law enforcement. So I knew that I had to prepare, knowing the policy, knowing the laws. I continued my education and received a master's degree because I wanted to be so good that they could not ignore me.
Right. That's what you have to be, especially in those early days when, there weren't many women on the job. And speaking of that, there are more women on the job now than there probably were back when you first started. So I see that you are starting a book. Can you tell us about ladies in law enforcement?
Oh, yeah, that is one of my pride and joys. The title of the book is Uncuffed Voices. It is a book that allowed women in law enforcement, former women in law enforcement or active duty, to tell their stories to their younger self. Because we're always talking about, like, if you knew then what you know now. And by telling our stories, we want to support the next generation of female law enforcement officers.
Wow. And when can we expect to see it?
June 2023.
Wow.
Yes.
That is really soon. And now, after your career in law enforcement and you started your own business, why did you feel the need to start Chief Chanel Speaks?
It's twofold actually. One, based on a limiting belief. I have a fear of public speaking. And so I know, right? I actually jump at every opportunity to do public speaking. And I know that I have a story that will inspire and motivate others because I came from a place where I could have just accepted being a victim and not persevere from my childhood. And I did just that.
I would say so. Because I think earlier in the show, I mentioned when I was talking about you coming up that there were no hurdles that you couldn't overcome. So when you go out and talk to young women and women about self-limiting beliefs, what advice do you give them? How did you overcome your situation?
I had to first identify what my self-limiting beliefs were, and understand that there was a state of mind or belief with negativity and fear that caused me to be in that place. And once I recognized that, only then could I put tools in place, like I just stated, is embrace every opportunity as an opportunity to grow. Like, don't shy away from it, because oftentimes we look at things and say, oh, I can't do that. So then you don't try, or I'm not good enough, or the imposter syndrome. It's so many things that the negative thoughts that are in our heads, if we can transform those into positive thoughts, then we can be successful in life.
So how do you identify those limiting beliefs? How did you?
Well, I did that because I always trust like my gut, my intuition. Like when I started to do certain things, and if I didn't feel comfortable, I had to research, like, why am I uncomfortable? Am I unprepared, or is my decision driven by fear? I started every day writing in my journal, my gratitude journal, of 5 things I'm grateful for. So when things came up throughout my day, I would always revert back to the 5 things that I was grateful for. And then I would just kind of like analyze it, because it all starts in your mindset. If you change your mindset, you will change your life.
Right. And coming from a positive point, like you said, you revisited those positive things that you thought of early in the morning. If you can stop thinking negatively and think positively, then it might change the way you're looking at whatever situation you happen to be in.
Yes, exactly.
We are talking with Chanel Dickerson, founder and CEO of Chief Chanel Speaks. You talk a lot about self-care when you go out on your speaking engagements. Why do you feel it's important to stress self-care when you're speaking to young women and older women?
Well, ascending the ranks at the police department to assistant chief, I performed at a high level. Society makes you think that long hours and productivity is what success looks like. And to be honest, I started to experience burnout. It started to affect my health, my anxiety, my mental health. And I just want to inspire other women to take the time off. I had so many vacation hours at the end of my career. And some people looked at that as I had a stellar career with all of those hours. I looked at it as someone who didn't properly take care of herself. And so I just want to ring the bell, sound the alarm for women to say, it's okay not to be okay, and to say, I need time for me.
Did you feel back then that you could take that time off? I mean, did you feel like you had to work because you were a woman in a man's field?
Oh, absolutely. When I achieved the rank of assistant chief, I was the highest ranking woman on the police department, in the Metropolitan Police Department. So all of my executive colleagues were men. And I noticed that they took vacations, but I didn't take vacations, right? And no one actually told me, like, you can't take a vacation. It comes with that imposter syndrome, or they will look at me if I take vacation is that I am, shying away from work. And I just never wanted that, that said about me.
I noticed on your website you talk about the journey. Where did you find all of this strength to overcome your I don't want to say upbringing, but overcome the impoverished community that you lived in, the abuse you suffered, the trauma you saw? How did you overcome those things to reach such a high position in your field?
Two things. I would say my spiritual belief. I believed from an early age that my steps were ordered, right? That there was a plan for my life of abundance, but I needed to do the work. And so when I joined law enforcement, I said, I have to do the work. I did not want to be a diversity checkbox. That was very important to me. And it may be simple to some people, but I go back to the mindset shift because I ran a marathon, 26.2 miles. And my mind is what got me through the marathon because my body wanted to quit. So I had a mantra that said that there is no one, I am better than no one, but there's no one that's better than me. And I said that every day, and I still say that today because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and your strength may be public speaking that's better than mine, but then I have a strength in another area. But it's to give myself grace every day and know that it's no unhealthy comparison. I'm only competing against myself. And I wake up every day just to be a better version than I was yesterday.
Well, that's great. That's a good thing to think about. And that marathon analogy, I know that because I've run a marathon too. And your mind can really, if you don't have the right mindset, can make you quit, just like anything else in life.
Yes.
So what advice can you give anyone who to tap into that inner strength? What advice can you give?
Is practice positive thoughts to yourself every day, because a healthy self-esteem is key to accomplish any goals. And write your goals down, your short, mid, and long-term goals, and work at those goals. Like right now, I tell people, write down 3 things that you would like to achieve, and then write down 3 reasons why you haven't achieved those things, and then work at those things, but understand that you must put in the work. And if one day you miss the mark, just know that it's okay and you have tomorrow to try again.
And a lot of people don't realize you have to practice positive thoughts. I mean, not everyone has a positive thought all the time, and it is a muscle you have to exercise.
No, you do. And if I can add, like I was at a summit and the facilitator asked us to take a selfie. And we took a selfie and she said, well, I look at the picture and write down what you see. And everyone in the room wrote down negative thoughts, like my hair looks this way or my makeup. No one looks at it and say, oh, I love my smile or my eyes look great. So it's just some part of our brain that automatically goes to negativity. So we need to put in the extra work for positivity.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And the information that you have given is just invaluable.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
We will have Chief Chanel's contact information in today's show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com. We'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
In a region known for its beautiful mountain surroundings, our vibrant arts community makes the Allegheny Highlands a more colorful place to live and visit. Our passion for the arts is endless, and it's uniquely Allegheny.
I would like to thank Dr. Christy Arthur and Chief Chanel Dickerson for being with us today. Dr. Arthur explained how direct primary care benefits patients, and Chief Chanel inspired us to identify our own limiting beliefs and face them head on so we can live our best lives. I'm Denise Allen Membrano. We'll see you next week on another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.